This is Heliox, where evidence meets empathy. Independent, moderated, timely, deep, gentle, clinical, global, and community conversations about things that matter. Breathe easy. We go deep and lightly surface the big ideas.
Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, imagine this for a second. What if your body's immune system could, sense a pathogen coming before it even got near you? Not just, reacting to a cold you already caught, but the idea of one.
That sounds pretty wild.
It does, right? Well, today we're diving into some really fascinating research just published in Nature Neuroscience that explores exactly that possibility.
Okay.
How our brain might actually be anticipating infection threats. Maybe even priming our immune system. Just from virtual sources.
Virtual sources, wow.
Yeah. So our mission today is to really unpack this study. We'll look at everything from brain activity, immune cell responses, and try to understand this, unexpected link between what you see or maybe just perceive and how your body gears up to protect itself.
And this is based on a specific study.
Exactly. It's a deep dive into one comprehensive study that used, get this, virtual reality to simulate these threats. And they measured everything meticulously: behavior, brain signals, immune markers. The works. All in healthy people.
Very cool. VR as a tool for immunology.
Right. So let's jump straight in. The core question they were tackling. Can our brain actually anticipate infection before contact?
Which is radical, yeah. Because we usually think about the immune system in two main ways.
Go on.
Well, there's the behavioral immune system, right? Like keeping your distance, washing hands, basically avoiding germs in the first place. We all got pretty familiar with that recently.
Okay, Ellie.
And then there's the biological immune system. That's the one that fights back once a pathogen actually gets in. So the researchers were asking, is there a connection before that point?
So what was their hypothesis? How did they think this link might work?
Well, they hypothesized that maybe, just maybe, the human brain has some kind of built-in mechanism, one that can sense potential virtual infections.
Just from seeing them?
Potentially, yeah. And that sensing could then trigger an early immune response, sort of like a heads up for the body, similar to how it reacts to a physical pathogen, but way earlier. Proactive,
Okay. Proactive defense based on perception. How on earth do you test that? The experimental setup must have been something else.
Oh, it really was. Super innovative. That's where the virtual reality came in big time. They created these infectious avatars.
Infectious avatars. Sounds ominous.
Okay, well, they were basically realistic human faces shown in VR, but displaying really clear signs of sickness. Pustules, lesions, that kind of thing.
Okay. Got it. And they had controls.
Absolutely crucial. They had neutral avatars, just normal faces, and also feelful avatars to control for just general negative emotion or threat perception.
Makes sense. And these avatars didn't just sit there.
Nope. They approached the participants, and they did so within their virtual peripersonal space, or PPS.
Okay, PPS, remind us what that is.
Think of it as your personal bubble, that immediate space around your body. It's handled by special neurons that integrate touch on your skin with things you see or hear very close to you.
So these sick-looking avatars were programmed to enter that virtual bubble.
Exactly. Getting right up close, virtually speaking.
And measuring the response. That sounds complex. What tools did they use?
It was definitely a multi-pronged attack. For behavior, they used psychophysics, basically measuring reaction times very precisely.
Okay.
Then for the brain, they used EEG, electroencephalography. That's great for timing, tells you when things are happening in the brain, down to milliseconds.
Right. The timing is key for anticipation.
Precisely. And they also used fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging, that gives you which specific brain areas are lighting up.
Brain timing and location.
Oh.
Okay.
But they didn't stop there. They also took blood samples and used things like mass spectrometry and flow cytometry to look directly at immune markers and changes in immune cells.
Wow, that's comprehensive. Brain and body.
And here's a really clever part. They needed a benchmark, right? A real-world comparison.
How did they do that without,
Yeah, you can't ethically infect people, so they used a standard flu vaccine injection.
Ah, okay.
Sure.
So it triggers a genuine immune response, but it's controlled and safe.
Exactly. It acts as a stand-in for encountering a real pathogen, allowing them to see if the virtual threat response looked anything like the real one.
Brilliant. Okay, so with this whole setup, VR avatars, PPS, brain scans, blood tests, vaccine comparison, what did they find? Start with behavior. Did seeing these sick avatars change anything about that personal bubble, the PPS?
It absolutely did, and this is one of the first really striking findings. Your personal bubble, your PPS, seems to actually expand when you perceive sickness nearby.
Expand. How did they see that?
Well, first, participants clearly saw the infectious avatars as sick, as contagious. They showed avoidance behaviors, but the key was in those reaction times.
It's the psychophysics stuff.
Right. They'd give participants a tiny tactile stimulus, like a puff of air on their face, while the avatars were approaching at different distances. Normally, your reaction to the touch is faster if something visual is happening close by at the same time. That's the PPS effect.
Okay.
What they found was, for the infectious avatars, that speed-up effect, that PPS benefit, happened when the avatar was much farther away compared to the neutral or even the fearful ones.
Whoa. So just seeing potential sickness makes your brain treat things that are farther away as if they're already close.
That's what it looks like. It suggests your PPS system is anticipating potential contact with that threat, expanding its surveillance zone, even when it's objectively still quite distant. Your brain's already going danger close.
Okay, that's significant. Your brain is physically changing its spatial awareness based on a perceived health threat. So what's happening neurally during this? What did the EEG show?
The EEG gave some really cool insights into the timing. It showed distinct brain activity patterns for infectious versus neutral avatars.
And early on, you said?
Incredibly early. This difference popped up between like 129 and 150 milliseconds after the avatar appeared. And crucially, this was when the infectious avatar was still in the far space.
Before it even got close.
Exactly. It's evidence of a very rapid anticipatory detection mechanism. And they even localized the source of this early signal difference to parietal areas of the brain.
Which are known to be involved in the PPS system, right?
Precisely. So it fits the picture. But then the fMRI really helped pinpoint the specific areas involved in this anticipatory response.
Okay, so where in the brain was this happening?
The fMRI showed activation specifically for the infectious avatars, again, when they were far away, in several key areas.
Where?
The right primary somatosensory cortex, for one.
S1.
Yeah.
That's touch and body sense, isn't it? Interesting, given there's no actual touch.
Right. Also, the right anterior insula, that's huge for integrating emotions and body states, feeling disgust, sensing threats.
Okay.
Plus areas like the premotor cortex involved in planning movement, the anterior cingulate cortex for conflict monitoring and attention, and the middle frontal gyrus, also involved in attention and control.
Quite a network lighting up. And you mentioned something earlier about the salience network.
Yes. This is where it gets really intriguing. Many of those areas, particularly the anterior insula and the anterior cingulate cortex, are core hubs of the brain's salience network.
And the salience network is basically...
It's like your brain's importance detector. It constantly scans the environment, both internal and external, and flags things that are relevant, important, or potentially threatening, deciding what needs attention.
So the brain's threat detector was specifically triggered by the virtual infection cue, even at a distance.
That's the interpretation, yeah. And it wasn't just a generic, oh no, something bad response, because the pattern was different compared to the fearful avatar. It seems specific to the nature of the threat potential disease.
Okay, mind officially starting to be blown here. Brain activity anticipating a virtual threat.
Mm-hmm.
But did it actually connect to the immune system? Did the body react?
This is maybe the most startling part. Yes, it did. They looked closely at specific immune cells in the blood.
Which ones?
They focused on innate lymphoid cells, ILCs, and also natural killer, or NK, cells. ILCs are really interesting. They're part of the innate immune system, sort of like rapid first responders.
Sentinels, almost.
Kind of, yeah. They can react quickly to threats and help orchestrate the early stages of an immune response, even before the adaptive immune system really gets going.
So what happened to these ILCs when people saw the virtual sick avatars?
Get this. The virtual infection threat induced changes in the frequency and activation state of these ILCs. And here's the kicker. This modulation was not only similar to the response triggered by the real flu vaccine, but in some aspects, it was even stronger than the response to the neutral or fearful avatars.
Wait, hang on. Seeing a virtual sick person caused an immune cell change comparable to getting an actual vaccine shot.
That's what the data showed. It's pretty remarkable.
That fundamentally changes how I think about the immune system. It's not just waiting for a physical trigger.
It seems not. Specifically, they saw things like a decrease in the circulating numbers of one type, ILC1s, but those remaining ILC1s showed signs of higher activation.
What does that suggest?
That pattern, fewer in the blood but more activated, often suggests that these cells are migrating out of the bloodstream and into tissues, presumably heading towards a potential site of infection or inflammation. It's a classic sign of an early antiviral response,
Triggered by sight alone.
triggered by the brain's processing of a potential threat approaching the body's space. It's a direct link from perception to cellular immune changes.
Okay, so we have the brain detecting the virtual threat via the psionics network, and we have the immune system responding via ILCs. How did they nail down the communication pathway between the brain and the immune system? You mentioned the hypothalamus and the HPA axis earlier.
Right, so the hypothalamus is a really key player here. It's a brain region that helps regulate loads of bodily functions, including the immune system. Often, it does this via the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis.
That's the main stress response system, right? Cortisol release and all that.
Exactly. So the HPA axis is a known pathway for the brain to influence immunity. The researchers wanted to see if the salience network activity triggered by the virtual infection was somehow modulating this pathway.
How do you even measure connectivity between brain regions like that?
They used a pretty sophisticated analysis technique called dynamic causal modeling, or DCM. It allows you to infer the direction of influence between different brain areas based on the fMRI data.
Okay, and what did the DCM analysis show?
It showed that when participants were viewing the infectious avatars in that far space, the anticipatory phase, there was a significant increase in the effective connectivity from those salience network areas we talked about, the insula, the frontal gyrus, etc., to the hypothalamus.
So a direct line of communication. The threat detecting network seems to be actively telling the immune regulating hub, the hypothalamus, hey, pay attention.
That's precisely the implication. It suggests a specific neural circuit. Salience network detects potential infection risk, signals the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus likely initiates downstream processes, potentially via the HPA axis, that prime the immune system. It's that brain-to-body alert system in action.
Wow, okay. But immune responses are complex, right? It's not just one signal. They use neural network modeling, too. What did that add?
Yeah, that was another layer to try and capture the complexity. The immune system isn't just on or off. It's modulated by a whole cocktail of signals, hormones from the HPA axis, signaling molecules called eicosanoids, neuroinflammatory factors.
Right.
So they built a computational model to see how these different factors might interact in a non-linear way to influence ILC activation.
Nonlinear meaning the effect isn't just additive. Like, more hormone doesn't always mean more response.
Exactly. Sometimes you need a specific balance. And the model predicted a kind of sweet spot or hot spot for the highest immune activation. This hot spot was characterized by high levels of HPA-related hormones, low neuroinflammatory factors, and sort of intermediate levels of eicosanoids.
Like a specific recipe for peak immune readiness.
You could think of it that way, and here's the confirmation.
Did the people seeing the sick avatars land in that hotspot?
They had a significantly higher probability of having a physiological state that matched that predicted hotspot compared to those seeing neutral avatars.
Okay, so the modeling wasn't just theoretical. It matched what was actually happening in the participants' bodies when they perceived the virtual threat.
Correct. And it reinforces the idea that this isn't just some vague stress response. It's a specific multi-signal physiological state tuned for potential infection, triggered by the brain's interpretation of a visual cue.
This has some really broad implications, then. It goes
Yeah.
way beyond just, deciding to step back from someone who looks sick.
Absolutely. It really elevates the concept of the behavioral immune system. It's not just about behavior change. It seems to be directly wired into priming our innate physiological defenses.
It makes me think of that. What is it? The smoke detector principle.
That's a perfect analogy. The idea is that immune systems, like smoke detectors, are biased toward avoiding misses, even if it means occasional false alarms.
Better safe than sorry, essentially.
Exactly. Better to mount a small, unnecessary defense response to something that just looks like a threat, a false positive, than to miss a real danger, a false negative. Our systems seem highly sensitized to cues that even superficially resemble infection.
And this study really highlights VR as more than just entertainment. It's a powerful research tool.
Hugely powerful. It allows researchers to manipulate potentially threatening stimuli in a controlled, safe, yet immersive way to really dissect these complex brain-body interactions. The potential for understanding psychosomatic connections, stress, and immunity is enormous.
So let's try and wrap this up. What's the big takeaway here?
I think the core insight is that our brains seem to possess this remarkable anticipatory defense system. It can sense the potential for infection, maybe just visually, well before any physical contact.
And trigger a genuine, measurable immune response.
Yeah.
It's like our body has this invisible radar, constantly scanning and preparing.
Pretty much. And it leads to some fascinating, maybe slightly unsettling thoughts.
Go on.
Well, think about it. If just seeing a virtual sick person can activate your immune system like this, what about all the visual and social cues we encounter in the real world every single day?
Like news reports during an outbreak. Or even just seeing someone cough across the room.
Yeah.
Online discussions about illness.
Exactly. Could those things be subtly nudging our immune state day in and day out without us having any conscious awareness of it?
That's a really provocative question. What else might our brains be priming our bodies for? Totally under the radar. Makes you wonder.
It certainly does.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope this gives you, our listeners, a fresh perspective on just how deeply connected your mind and your body's defenses truly are. It's an incredible system. Thanks for listening today. 4 recurring narratives underlie every episode: boundary dissolution, adaptive complexity, embodied knowledge, and quantum-like uncertainty. These aren't just philosophical musings, but frameworks for understanding our modern world. We hope you continue exploring our other podcasts, responding to the content, and checking out our related articles at helioxpodcast.substack.com.